Hello, welcome to the Joe Cortez Show here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment and the boxing capital of the world. You know, I'm always so surprised to hear so many people are moving into Las Vegas. So many things are happening here in Vegas now, and all these sports teams are coming in. They're talking about the baseball teams coming into Vegas soon. I think it's the Oakland A's, if I'm not mistaken. We have football, we have basketball, boxing, hockey. I mean, just so much going on. And it's a town that's really growing. It's one of the greatest places I've ever moved to that I can say I'm very happy, content, and now with this beautiful weather that we're getting, it's really amazing. And I'm here at the studio with my dear friend, my engineer, Rick. How you doing, buddy, today? And he has his Rick Manning himself from the Regal Studios here in Las Vegas. This is where I do my shows from every week. And Rick Manning is unbelievable. The kind of person you are, I always got to give people credit, and Rick is one of the good guys here. So anyway, I just want to talk to you a little bit. People have been asking me, Joe, how do you get started in boxing? And I was talking to a young couple that was here today at the studio about a little bit about my background. You know, I'm going to use that as my topic for today's show. It's about how did I start with boxing? Well, it all started back in New York City, where I was born and raised. Parents are from Puerto Rico, but I was born and raised in New York. I remember when I was young, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, I was always being bullied in school and in the neighborhood. I was always running from everybody because I was real thin, tall and skinny, you know, and everybody would pick on me because my brother, you know, we were both always running away, trying to stay away from these guys that were involved in the gangs. Then as we got all of these young kids, they were doing drugs and whatnot. And thank God that my brother Mike and I decided not to get into that. We met a fellow by the name of Gaspar Indian Ortega, who moved to 99th Street between Park and Madison in Manhattan. And thank God he moved into my neighborhood because he came in from Tijuana with his brother Felix, and they were both professional fighters. I remember I was 12 years old when I met him, and I remember they didn't speak any English at all. And I spoke Spanish pretty good. My mother always spoke to us in Spanish, so I said, "Hey, ¿cómo está? ¿Cómo se llama?" And I said, no, I spoke to him in English first. I said, how you guys doing? He said, no, speak it in English. I said, oh, okay. So I said, ¿cómo están? I said, bien, bien. ¿Qué hacen aquí? What are you doing here? They said, well, we're professional fighters. We're fighting. I said, really? So anyway, so one thing led to another. We became friends, and they didn't know how to get around. There was a gym in Manhattan called Steelman's Gym. It was on 51st Street and 8th Avenue. And that's where he had to go train. And we live on 99th Street in Park and Madison. And the nearest subway station to us was 96th Street and Lexington. So we would take him to the subway there and take him down to 51st Street and 8th Avenue. We take a train that cross over to the west side. And we would go over there. And we would go to the gym. I remember the man named Mr. Steelman, who was the old man, grunchy old man with a cigar. And he was always reading. He would never smile on his face. We go there with Gaspar. Gaspar and his brother would be training. And that's how I got introduced to boxing when I was 12. Anyway, my brother Mike got involved with boxing before I did. He started boxing with the Boys Club of New York. And he would come home. They had a little competition. They would come home with a little trophy. And he said, hey, Joe, look at the trophy I got. I said, wow, that's nice. But I was afraid to go into boxing because my mother always said, Joe, you can't be a fighter. Because when I was like 10 years old, I fell off a wall, and I remember I broke my jaw on both sides. So my mother was afraid that if I would go into boxing, you know, she said, your chin is too weak. You're not going to be able to take those punches like your brother Mike. Anyway, I snuck to the gym with my brother Mike. I got involved with him with the Boys Club. Before you know it, here I'm 15 years old. I started with the Boys Club of New York. 1 year later, my brother Mike and I joined the Golden Glove tournament, and we both became champions at the sub-novice division. My brother was a 126-pound champion as a novice, and I was the 112-pound novice champion. I was 16 years of age. That's how it all started. And I kept on with the boxing. Then I became Spanish Golden Glove champion that same year at the same weight class. And then I the following year, went to the open division. And then my brother used to tell me that there was a fellow by the name of Angelo Soto, who was a great amateur fighter. He said, Joe, this is before I even started boxing. He said, Joe, there's a fighter named Angelo Soto. He's like a professional. He's really good. He looks good. He trains with us at the same gym. He's a good amateur fighter, outstanding fighter. Well, would you believe that my second year into the Golden Glove tournament, here I'm fighting Angelo Soto from my same club and the Open Finals in Madison Square Garden with 15,000 fans. And guess what? I beat Angelo Soto to become the Open champion in 1961, along with my brother Mike. He was a lightweight champion. He beat Frank Kalaluka. He was from the Bronx, the Mount Carmel CYO in the Bronx. He beat Frank Kalaluka for the lightweight championship. Then we had the Eastern Golden Glove Championships a couple of weeks later, and every fighter in that tournament, different weight classes, were champion from the respective state. So therefore, they brought fighters from all over the country on the East Coast to fight for the Eastern Golden Glove Championships. I don't have my ring out today for our tournament. I like to wear it once in a while for the Eastern Golden Glove Championship because that tournament brought a lot of great memories to me. If you look at the record books or try to find out from anybody, I don't care, but back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whenever the Golden Glove started, look up until today, you can't find anyone who knocked out two guys the same night in Madison Square Garden. Well, I accomplished that, okay, back in 1961. And people say, Joe, that's amazing. Well, that was the beginning of my career, in boxing. And then we got greedy. I won also the Spanish Golden Gloves that year as well. So I won the novice, the Open, 2 Spanish Golden Gloves, the Easterns, and the Nationals. So I won 6 Golden Glove championships during my career. And I turned pro when I was 18 years of age. And my brother Mike won 5 Golden Glove championships himself. And we had a lot of fun. And I tell these kids today out there, you have to get involved with something. Do something positive for yourself. I can do anything because boxing gave me that ability to feel like, give me the confidence level. Give me anything. I can challenge anybody at anything. I can do it. You open the door for me, I get in. I've been in law enforcement. I went into the military. I've been a deputy constable here in North Las Vegas. I've been in the medical field, in the field of ophthalmology. I was a board member for the Nevada State Nursing Board. I was appointed by 2 governors on the Nevada State Nursing Board. I did 2 terms with them, and I had a lot of fun. And I've been inducted in several Hall of Fames. But a lot of people want to know, Joe, I want to know a little bit more about you. What drove you to be the kind of person you are today? Well, boxing taught me to be kind. We're in the hurt business, but it was the opposite for me. I didn't want to hurt really nobody. I just wanted to win. It was better if I knock you out so you didn't feel no pain. But I just love to be in that ring, boxing and showing my skills. And then after I retired from boxing, I had an 18-1 as a professional. BoxRec got me for 11-1. They missed some of the fights that I've had in Mexico. They were not recorded, the 4-rounders and 6-rounders that I've had back in the days. But I've had a great career. I can't complain about my boxing. I never hit the deck. In the amateurs or pros, I never hit the deck. But in life, I hit the deck several times in life, okay? And one of the most recent one was when I came down with COVID. In 2020, I got hit real bad before the vaccine came out. And I remember I was hospitalized for 5 months in the hospital. 5 months, 5 months. And I tell you, a lot of people, a lot of medical people, friends of mine in the medical field didn't think I was going to make it. And some of the doctors where I was at the hospital didn't think I was going to make it. But they knew that I had the willpower because I refused to take the full count. I knew that back in the days, I said, no matter what, you put me down. If you put me down, I want to get back up. And that's what happened when I had that COVID. I came back and I made a comeback. It wasn't easy, but I made it. And 5 months being there, I lost 40 pounds when I was in the hospital. So from 175, I went down to 130, 135, around there. And you know what? I was skinny as hell. I said, you know what? When I won my first Golden Glove championship, I was 112 pounder. So if I came up to 135 in the hospital, that's not too bad, But anyway, I was trying to be a little funny, But I really enjoy my career in boxing as a fighter. But then one day after I had gotten married, I decided my wife decided let's move to Puerto Rico one day. I said, we can't do that. We didn't have the money back then. I wasn't making any money in boxing. So Anyway, I got into a business. I used to work with the city of New York. I was the museum, the city of New York. It was a city job. You retire from there with a great pension, but it was messing up with my schedule in boxing, so I let that go. Anyway, I got involved into an exterminating business. I got going with a company. Next thing you know, I started getting clients on my own. I started my own exterminating business. It was called Supreme Exterminating. That's the name I gave it. And I started down in the Bronx, and I started working, and I just kept going. One day I got an offer from one of my clients. He said, Joe, I like the business you're doing. Okay, are you willing to sell it? I said, I wasn't thinking of selling it, but if you're interested, I would like to train you. He said, I'd like to learn, yeah. So I took him with me on my route. He would shadow me wherever I would go to exterminating. And it was tough, the business dealing with extermination in New York City, dealing with the big insects. They call it the American cockroach, the big ones, the ones that will fly. I had to go take care of those in the building. They had those big old rats in the buildings in New York. And it was unbelievable, but I took care of them. They used to hear me coming, they used to disappear. But anyway, that's what I did for a number of months, maybe a couple of years. And this fellow took my business, I sold it to him. And I remember when I sold that business, I had gotten home, and my wife at the time had the two kids, my Cindy and my Sandy. They were young. And I came in, the guy, he paid me cash, and I had a shopping bag full of money. And when I came in that door, she was playing with the kids on the floor. I went like that with the shopping bag. All that money went flying down on top of her, playing with two kids in the living room. And she said, where you get all this money from? She thought I robbed a bank or something. I said, no, I sold the business. So anyway, I said, now you want to go to Puerto Rico? Now we go to Puerto Rico. So that's how we ended up going to Puerto Rico. And I started working as a room clerk, front desk clerk at the El Conquistador Hotel, which is a 5-star hotel. And that's where I started learning about the hospitality business. And I started working there. Being that I was bilingual, I was treating the customers pretty good. I love talking to people, so it was good in Spanish or English to the visitors at the hotel. But you know what? They made me front office manager. I said, wow, I'm only like maybe 6 months there. They made me front office manager. Then about 6 months later, the reservation manager resigned. His name was Pepe Barra Swine, a Cuban fellow. He went to the Hilton schools to learn the hospitality business. And he resigned, and they said, Joe, reservations connected with the front office. Will you be interested in running our reservations department? I said, but who's going to take care of the front desk? He said, no, you can do both. I said, really? Okay. So I was now front office manager and reservations manager. And then the owner of the hotel, Lou Puro, may he rest in peace, good man. And I said, I got the bug again. I felt like George Foreman making that comeback. And I made a comeback into boxing. So I came back. I was going to the local gym, and I was working out. Then I told Lou Puro, the owner of the hotel, I said, Mr. Puro, I said, yeah, I know that you're involved with the hotel industry, but I need somebody to back me up as a manager. I want to make a comeback in boxing. He said, what kind of record do you have? I told him my record. He said, yeah, I only had one loss in the pros out of 18 fights at the time. And then he said, okay. And then he brought some friends of his to meet me, and there were a bunch of friends and the lawyers from New York City were there on vacation. And they said, you one of the Cortez brothers? I said, yes, I am. They said, he says, Joe, hey, I'd like to manage you. These friends of mine said that they know who you are. That you got a good reputation in New York in the amateurs. Yeah. So I made a comeback, and I fought a gentleman a Dominican fighter by the name of Sal La Chapelle from the Dominican Republic. They brought him in from the Dominican Republic to fight me in Puerto Rico. And I whipped his butt. I won with no problem. I was all excited. The family they were going crazy. No, don't fight again, Joe. I said, I didn't get hurt. I look at another mark in my face. They didn't want me to fight again. I went back to Lou Puro, the owner of the hotel, who was my manager. I said, Mr. Puro, I decided I don't want to continue with the boxing. My family not too happy with me making a comeback. He said, what are you going to do, Joe? I said, well, I like the hospitality business. I really enjoy doing this here. It's nice. He said, Joe, you give me all you got, and I'll make sure you get to the top. Those were his words to me. And I still stay in touch with our family. Jack Katz was his son-in-law. Him and I are still good friends today, and we're going back when that was back in the 70s when I was managing the hotel back then. I was a young kid back then. I'm still young, man. I still got a little spark of the old flash. Anyway, so I decided to give it up after working 8 years in Puerto Rico. I became friends with Bob Guccione. Bob Guccione, the owner of Penthouse Magazine, he was a guest at the hotel, and he saw me. I got to meet him, and we had dinner a couple of times together. He said, Joe, I've been watching you here at the hotel. If you ever move back to New York, I would like to, maybe give you a position in my company. So I said, well, we can make that happen. I was thinking about moving back to New York. He said, how about you come up and we can show you the place. He said, I can give you something at my firm, at my magazine. So I went up to New York and met with Bob Guccione. I remember I met him at his brownstone apartment here. I think it was on 51st Street in Central Park West. No, Central Park, right off of Fifth Avenue. And he took me there to his apartment. I was there with his family, we were there the whole day. He said, Joe, I want to make you one of my managers for my office in New York. So I said, okay, let me go back and talk to Lou Pirro, the owner of the El Conquistador Hotel, and tell him what I'm going to be doing. So I went back to Mr. Pirro, I'm thinking of making a move back to New York. He said, what you going to do in New York? I said, your friend Bob Guccione offered me a position. He said, Joe, I got my New York office. And by the way, Sylvia my wife was working at the hotel as well. She was the clubhouse manager. She ran the golf course, the health spa, and the pro shop. She ran that. And I said, so yeah, I want to move back to New York. He says, you can work with me in my New York office. I said, do what? He says, we'll see when you get, I got a position. I think I'm going to make you casino operations manager. I said, okay, well, that's something. I said, how about Sylvia? He said, oh, well, okay. He said, we'll find out something. And so, he made a reservations manager for the 4 properties in Puerto Rico with the El Salvador Corporation. So he made me casino operations manager. I moved to New York. I told Bobby Shoney, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to take the job. I'm going to stay with Lou Pirro. And he accepted that. So here I am now working in the hotel industry and the hospitality business. And I was, just before I moved to New York, there was a guest at the hotel by the name of Pat Masher, who came, he saw my name on one of the brochures, assistant manager Joe Cortez. I was the executive assistant manager. He says, are you one of the Cortez brothers, Joe? He called the operator. I would talk to Mr. Cortez. Are you one of the Cortez brothers? I said, yes, I am. He said, well, Joe, I have an idea. You ever come to New York? I want you to, think about maybe doing some refereeing. So anyway, I gave him a call the following year when I moved back in December 1976. And I called him up. He said, yeah, Joe, I want you to meet Johnny Defoe, who's the director of the Police Athletic League, and get you involved in the amateurs, doing the amateur tournaments. So he says, I called Johnny Defoe. I said, Johnny, Joe Cortez, Pat Mash asked me to call you. And he said, all right. He said, yeah. Bring some white slacks and some sneakers. I want to get you to start refereeing. I got there. They gave me a PAL T-shirt. It's time me doing these amateur kids. And before you know it, the Golden Gloves right around the corner. He said, Joe, when they get you in the Golden Gloves, you look pretty decent refereeing. There was a tournament, a big snowstorm, and no referee showed up. I ended up doing 27 fights that night. So they liked the way I did that. I said, wow, 27 with novices. They were quick knockouts, 1 round, 2 round knockouts, young kids. Anyway, so a week after I got in the tournament, they got me doing the quarterfinals, and they couldn't believe I could do the quarterfinals first year. They had me doing the semifinals, and to my surprise, they had me doing 2 championship fights, and I just started with the amateurs. And they said, Japan match, I can't believe that they've called you to do the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. Nobody does that the first year. You normally got to be a couple of years in the Golden Gloves, with more experience. Anyway, I got a call from the New York State Athletic Commission, Deputy Commissioner Frank Morris, who offered me a position to become, he said, I saw you working the other night at Madison Square Garden, the championship fights. You look pretty good at 2 championship fights you referee. We'd like to offer you a position as a professional. I said, professional? I'm only doing this 6 months. He said, yeah, but we want to turn you pro now. I said, am I going to get any work? I mean, he said, they had 2 or 3 fights every week in New York City at the time, back in the 70s. And so they had me doing 4-rounders and 6-rounders. And a year and a half later, they called me to do my first main event in New York City. It was on Wide World of Sports. And I was, to my surprise, I said, wow, I'm doing a main event. So that was the beginning of my career as a professional referee. I then I got a license in New York and New Jersey. I met Jersey Joe Walker, former heavyweight champion, at one of the boxing events. He said, I've been watching you at work in New York. He said, you do pretty good. Are you licensed in New Jersey yet? I said, no, I'm not. He said, come to the office next week. I'll give you a license. I like the way you work. So they gave me a license in New Jersey. Next thing I know, a couple of years down the line, went down. Now I'm into my 5th year as a professional. I got called to do my first world title fight. Aaron Pryor, Miguel Montilla in Atlantic City. And that was the beginning. And I just kept on. From there, everybody started using me, the IBF, WBO, WBC, WBA. Everybody's using me. I'm doing fights all over the world. I got getting some name recognition now. I'm doing a lot of major fights, main events on national TV. And now I become a household name. And before you know it, I'm doing 10 years already. Now I'm into my 15th year as a professional referee with close to, I think I had about 50 world title fights under my belt by that time. My dream was to do one. If I could do one, I said I'll be the happiest man on this planet. And I was into my 50th world title fight. When I got a call from the Nevada State Athletic Commission, they wanted to bring me down to Vegas. They were recruiting me, but they said, Joe, you have to be a resident in order to do referee fights in Vegas. Well, it was kind of tough for me to move. I was already in the field of ophthalmology and working with some doctors, and so I decided that, I can't make a move, but they started giving me some fights. They brought me in as a judge for my first assignment. I was not in the ring. I was outside the ring as a judge, scoring, and they had me do Michael Spinks and Larry Holmes. And I remember that it was a rematch. And I remember the score was a split decision win for Michael Spinks. And everybody was booing, And I said, wait a minute, I didn't score to Michael Spinks. I gave it to Larry Holmes. So the other 2 judges gave it to Michael Spinks. So Spinks won on a split decision. They were booing like crazy. I thought they were booing me because I was by myself. I scored for Spinks. I scored it for Larry Holmes. And the other 2 judges, I remember Jerry Roth and Frank Brunette gave it to Michael Spinks. Anyway, the commission said, Joe, I said, this is my first assignment here. I said, I messed up. And they said, no, you didn't mess up. They messed up. You were the one who had it right. That's what they're booing. It was a very controversial decision. You had it right. So anyway, next thing you know, a while later, they sent for me again to do another fight, but not as a referee, because you have to be a resident. They said, we're going to make you a judge for another fight, major fight. Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran. And that was the 3rd time. That was after the No Mas fight. The No Mas fight was the second one. Roberto won the first one up in Montreal. The second one, Sugar Ray won. And the third one, Sugar Ray won as well. But I was a judge for that particular fight. And I was honored. And then from then on, they said, Joe, if you move to Vegas, we'll give you fights, do a regular championship fights on a regular and mega fights. I said, it's going to be hard for me to make a move. Next thing I know, I got another call to do a Super Nelson and Jeff Fennick. And I came out, did that fight. They said, Joe, a big fight at Caesar's Palace, outdoors. It was so hot out there that day. Anyway, I did that fight, and they said, Joe, you have to be a resident to do the fight. We broke the rules on this particular fight, these 2 times that you worked out here. It was that one and another fight they gave me with Greg Page, another heavyweight fight on HBO. They said, you have to be a resident, So I didn't want to make the move, but then I decided, well, maybe I'll make the change. I made a move out here. Temporarily, I got me a place, and I would come and work maybe one week a month. I was here, and they gave me fights on that particular weekend, and I would work. And then little, I moved out here. I made my move to Vegas in 1992. And I remember in 1998, in New Jersey, I got inducted into the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame, and that was an honor for me. And that was a nice Hall of Fame, New Jersey. But I was already out here, and then next thing you know, I get inducted into the World Boxing Hall of Fame a couple of years later, and that was really an honor. But the big one was in 2011 when I got inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame up in Canastota, New York. I got inducted with Mike Tyson, Julio Cesar Chavez, Sylvester Stallone, of which I was the referee in his movie Rocky Balboa, Costa Zoo, and National Berenstein. The 6 of us got inducted that same day in New York City, up in Canastota, New York, International Hall of Fame. And then I'm already into my 34th year as a referee. I'm saying to myself, wow, 34 years, and when am I going to go? I was already inducted into 4 Hall of Fames. I got 170 some odd fights under my belt. So I was thinking about maybe I'm going to round that up to 35 years. So the following year, 2012, I decided I wanted to pack it in. I figured let me go out on top, and I retired with 176 world title fights. The last one was Canelo Alvarez and Josecito Lopez. I had a great run in boxing as a referee, and boxing opened a lot of doors for me. It made me the person that I am today. I'm an individual. I'm a caring, loving individual. I love people out there. I care for seniors, and I love all these young folks out there. And I've worked with a lot of referees, opened the doors for a lot of referees, and I've had it under my training programs. They've been my proteges. I can mention a few. If I miss some of you guys, I'm sorry. But I can mention Benji Estevez is one, Mike Ortega, Gaspar Ortega, the guy who got me started in boxing. His son, my godson, he's also a referee. He lives here in Las Vegas. Celestino Ruiz, Russell Mora. You got Robert Hoyle, Kenny Bayless. So many referees that I've worked under my guidance. I've tried out. Larry Hazard was a commissioner in New Jersey. Him and I, we revolutionized refereeing by creating seminars. They never had seminars for referees, judges, anything in the past, up until the late 70s when Larry Hazard and I started that. And Larry Hazard was an outstanding referee, and he became a commissioner 5 years after he turned pro as a referee. So we started out together, and him and I are like brothers, and we help out a lot of individuals out there. And Larry Hazard is still a commissioner today in New Jersey, so I'm very proud of him. And his son became a boxing judge, Larry Hazard Jr. And there's been so many individuals that have been out there that are doing great jobs as referees. You know, I look at so many of the referees out there. 20 Weeks is another great referee. I was with him last night. We went to watch the George Foreman story. George Foreman was my referee on 4 occasions towards his second comeback. And I refereed him against Jerry Cooney when he knocked him out in 2 rounds. I refereed him against Jerry Coetzee up in Reno. I refereed him against the big one, and that's part of the movie last night that we saw, George Foreman's story. After he come back to boxing after 45 years of age, he come back. He was retired and came back, and with 20 years later, he wins the heavyweight championship again. And I was honored to be the referee for that fight when he knocked out Michael Mora here in Las Vegas. And that was a great honor, working George Foreman. Then I did him again, Axel Schultz, which was after he won the heavyweight championship. And George Foreman and I stayed friends after his retirement and my retirement from boxing. It would have been an honor. And now what I'm doing today is trying to help out in the community, and I want you guys to get more involved, helping out like I do. You know, go to the youth program, get these kids more involved. I hate to see all these crimes that are happening around the country on a regular basis. You have all these shootings that are going on. Almost every couple of months, there's a kind of a mass shooting going on. These kids out there have no guidance, they have nobody to look up to. And I say, if you know somebody has mental issues, mental health problem, and they have weapons, they own guns or something, you know, do something. If you hear something, say something. Don't let these guys continue doing what they're doing and killing people out there unnecessarily. You know, it's just uncalled for. I want to see you guys to get together, more harmony amongst ourselves, amongst our friends, family, loved ones, and reach out to your seniors, help them out. They need some help and guidance. And the kids, reach out to them and get them on the right track. You know, it's always an honor to be on the show talking about personal things that I love to share with you guys. Every so often, I have to talk about things like this because it touches my heart, and I care for a lot of people out there. You guys know who you are, that I love you, I care for you guys. I want to do everything I can to make everybody happy and make it the best for you. And God bless you always. And my family, everybody's doing good. My Bryce Hampton plays with Purdue University. Hopefully, he gets to make it to the NFL. He graduates now in May. God bless you all. God bless everybody. My family, my daughters, everybody. My family, my wife, everybody. God bless you. Good luck. Keep your guards up at all times. And remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch them up.